Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your Libertarian car guy. Just a quick segue here before I get into the BMW 7 Series Hybrid. I've been doing a drum brake job on my Nissan Frontier pickup here, and it just goes to show you to always check and open the box before you head home from the parts store. So I got the new shoes, which are here, and here's the original shoe, and as you can clearly see, one is bigger than the other, and I think what happened was that they gave me shoes for the four-wheel drive truck. Mine's a two-wheel drive, and probably the four-wheel drive truck has a larger shoe. Anyway, so there you go. So I'm going to have to head down the mountain to get the correct shoes, and that brings me to the 2017 BMW 7 Series Hybrid, which, as you can see, is plugged in right now. The 7 Series was all new last year, 2016, and for 2017, they brought out this E version, plug-in hybrid. It has a four-cylinder engine. It's the first time that BMW has ever put a four-cylinder engine inside a 7 Series sedan. This is a big car, and it's got the same basic gas engine that you would find in a much smaller car like the 3 Series, for example. But it's supplemented by the usual battery pack and electric motors, and you end up with about 326 horsepower. If I'm remembering it correctly. It's not quite as quick, and it costs a bit more than the non-hybrid base trim 740i, which still has an inline six-cylinder engine. But the upside is that you can go about 30 miles on just the batteries on a full charge. Right now I've got a full charge. It's about 30 miles down the mountain, so probably I'll be able to make it all the way down the mountain without burning any gas at all. And that's interesting. It's better than its main rival, the Mercedes S550e, which I reviewed a few weeks ago. The chief difference between it and this car, in addition to that, this car comes with all-wheel drive standard and costs significantly less than the Mercedes. So relatively speaking, it's a pretty good deal. Now, whether it makes any economic sense, well, you might be scratching your head just like I am and wondering why. Why do they build six-figure hybrids? This car is $89,000 and change. Add a few options, you're well over $100,000. And here's the reason. It's got nothing to do with saving gas. It's got nothing to do with saving the earth either. It's got everything to do with caving into the political pressures that exist right now in Europe, where there are IC engine no-go zones. That means if you have a gas-powered vehicle, you cannot drive your vehicle in those areas. So only zero-emissions vehicles qualify, and that means only electric cars and hybrids that can operate exclusively on the batteries like this one can. So that's the main reason why these vehicles are being produced. And of course, since they're being sold over there, they're selling them over here. Helps a little bit with CAFE compliance. I have been averaging about 29 miles per gallon in this thing, driving moderately, which is about 7 or 8 miles per gallon better on average than I would get in the six-cylinder powered car. But again, who cares? $100,000. You know, if you're worried about saving 5 miles per gallon one way or the other, and you're spending $100,000, there's something wrong with your arithmetic. Technologically interesting. Whether it makes any economic or functional sense, I leave that up to you. And by the way, I'm working on a chapter on my ebook about car buying, and there's a chapter in there about hybrids. And something to be aware of with all the hybrids on the market, whether they're six figures or not, except for the Prius, the Toyota Prius, is that they are converted, meaning that originally they were designed to be gas-powered, and then subsequently, after they were designed, they added a hybrid powertrain or hybrid option to it. And one of the downsides to that is that you have limited trunk space. This car has about 9 cubic feet, a little bit more. And just to give you some perspective, that's right there with the Mazda Miata in a full-size luxury sedan. The same thing's true with the Mercedes S. The standard non-hybrid versions have full-size car trunks. So you lose trunk space. And of course, they're also compromised in terms of efficiency by dint of being big luxury cars, and people expect them to perform, accelerate, not just get good gas mileage. All right, end of rant about that. Let's have a look at the car. One of the things that's neat about vehicles in this class, they're all long wheelbase now. That includes this car, the Mercedes S, and the forthcoming Audi A8, which isn't out yet, so it'll be interesting to see what Audi does. And one of the consequences of that is that the rear seats are actually the happening place to be. You've got more legroom in the back than you've got in the front. They're super comfortable. Most of these cars offer an executive package that lets you actually recline the rear seats. The Mercedes that I had a few weeks ago, you might recall, the whole thing kicked out, footrests came up, and of course you had the dual DVD entertainment systems. This one doesn't have it. This one's a relatively sparsely equipped six-figure luxury car versus the Mercedes. Personally, having driven the two recently, if you were going to cross-shop these things, the Mercedes is without question the more awe-inspiring car in terms of when you open the door and look at that thing, you go, wow. The whole thing is just gently bathed in LED lights. It's got two huge LCD clusters. This one has LCD clusters too, but they're significantly smaller. And the overall layout of this car's interior is similar to what you'd find in some of the lower-priced BMW models. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just not as wow. You know, when you show a car like this to your friends, they're probably going to be more impressed by the exterior of it than they will by the interior of it. That said, in its defense, one of the nice things about this car is that it's much, much, much easier to drive than the Mercedes. Arguably, the Mercedes has got so much stuff, it's distracting to the extent that you almost need a flight engineer to deal with everything. This car has a relatively simple layout, relatively simple flat screen, relatively simple mouse, gauge cluster. If you've been in a $35,000 or $40,000 car recently, you're not going to find any of this particularly intimidating. If you move up to something like the S-Class, on the other hand, you're going to be intimidated. That car, even for somebody like myself, a car journalist who drives new cars every week and is used to this stuff, it's a lot of stuff. And just trying to deal with it all can be definitely a little bit overwhelming. Okay, I think that's about it. I am going to unplug this thing, and I'm going to head on down to the store and try to get my poor little pickup operational again, because that thing will go back and then I'll be driving this again. Anyway, thanks for viewing, and we will catch up with you soon.